Howdy, folks. It is Diecastbuffet here again, and Kyle Larson gets it done at Richmond. And, well, it's second career win at Richmond. Who would have thought that Kyle Larson would actually defeat all the Toyota drivers? Because it was absolutely dominated at one point by all the Toyota cars. And nothing really happened for like 95% of the race. And then a late caution happens, and then we actually got some pretty good racing. So Richmond 2023... definitely a hit or miss event, but nonetheless, though, if you want to go ahead and get that race win diecast, you can pre-order that. It's going to be a popular one. Hopefully, we'll have some confetti. Wink, wink. You're probably going to be able to get the 1/64 scale as well. You can pre-order that at Circuit Diecast. Use that code DIECASTbuffet for any orders $30 more, and you could save on shipping. Unfortunately, we didn't have a Cup Series win offered last week, so hey, good deal. We get one this week. But here's the time for my Richmond thoughts. I'm going to be honest with you. There's two tracks on the circuit I really don't like anymore, and it's Phoenix and Richmond. Flat, slow at times, just, I don't know, wide racetracks. They just don't race good on most stock cars, right? IndyCar would probably race fantastic at Richmond, but the stock cars, even the Xfinity cars, the trucks, you know, a racetrack is pretty bad when the trucks don't even race good on there. Oh, goodness. Pretty much nothing happened. Like legit, nothing happened. You had a little bit of tire strategy with the long green flag runs, but other than that, once you got out front, clean air, no one's going to pass you most of the time. Like, you had like 6 laps after the restart to pass someone, and that's it. Or you had like within 10 laps of pitting, if you pit maybe a lap ahead or a lap before, that was it. They've got to fix the short track package, guys. And this is what I was worried about going into the season, that it was going to be worse than last year. I did not see a complete difference at all. Not even 1% difference than last year's Richmond handling. They say it has, well, the least amount of downforce since the late 90s. I don't know what type of stock cars they're talking about or what metric they're using, but I could just see from my eyeball and the throttle trace, they have so much grip. I mean, you're pretty much racing modified sports cars. And you can just see how the racing is turning out. The short track product is the rustiest link on the chain. And they've got to make some massive changes. Richmond does not deserve 2 race dates a year if they're going to have racing like this. You know, it's a beautiful racetrack, but the quality of the product is bad. Even the Xfinity race, nothing happened. I just couldn't imagine living near Richmond and wanting to go to Richmond Raceway when I could go maybe to Martinsville or somewhere else, because there's so many different Cup Series racetracks in that the southeast region. But when I criticize something, I kind of like to have a little bit of a maybe a solution. One thing's for sure, I do think it needs more horsepower, because if you look at the CUTs and you look at the Gen 4 racing at Richmond, the cars, they were so much faster. I mean, they would just slam in the corners, man, with so much speed. So I think that would help a lot, having a whole lot more horsepower. Number 2, why not try getting rid of the splitters? Why not try maybe removing this, most of the side skirts, getting rid of the diffuser, getting rid of the spoiler? I'm willing to try whatever it takes to get Richmond racing back to where it needs to be, because clearly the Gen 7 car is no good at short tracks. Let's just be honest. I mean, when you get out front and you have the same aerodynamic advantage that you would have at Michigan, at Richmond, there's a problem. And you can see by the lack of racing. I knew it was going to be a bad race. The truck race yesterday, literally 8 laps before the race in the truck race yesterday, which was at Texas, it wasn't at Richmond, was significantly more entertaining and I would just say a better product than what we saw on the track today, 400 laps. Just being honest. If you did not dump the guy on the restart, you had no chance of running him down. That's pretty much what it is. As soon as they clear turn 2, they have clean air, and they're gone. It didn't matter if it was Byron. It didn't matter if it was Truex. It was so hard to pass. And I don't know. Richmond does not deserve 2 race dates. It deserves only 1, just like Phoenix. The Phoenix race sucked. The Richmond race sucked. But fortunately, that's in the rearview mirror. But that's just my honest 2 cents on that. I'm curious what y'all think down below, because to me, Richmond, it is really disappointing the past decade or so. Even back to the late Gen 5 era, it wasn't that great. You go back into the Gen 6 era, it wasn't that great either. So moving forward, though, they got to change the package completely they've got to change the package. And I think horsepower, removing the diffuser, removing the splitter, etc., would make a much better racing product. But previewing the next event, which is going to be Bristol Dirt, anything happens there. It's a wild card race. Anyone could win it. You could have weather that affects it. Who really knows? I know Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, probably going to be the two favorites. I would throw Tyler Reddick in that mix. He was really good there last year. Maybe a sleeper you could see. Maybe one of the one-off drivers show up. How about Josh Berry getting second place at Richmond? You know, he's a short track guy. They tried a very contrarian strategy, which was really the only thing that was somewhat interesting at this Richmond event year in and year out, is the ability to, you know, stay out, take two tires, whatever it is, catch a lucky caution, and leapfrog the field. Because once you had track position, it's really hard to lose it, because that's just the way Richmond is. It's just poor racing. So hats off to Josh Berry, the 9 camp. They almost won the race. If Larson wasn't his teammate, he probably should have lined up third on the inside line, you know, second row, third place, and just bumped him up the racetrack. Don't dump him. Pass him. He could have easily won the race, but being a teammate, I understand you don't want to dump him. But absolutely, though, hats off to Josh Berry, the second place. But really, Toyota let this one go. I mean, they had it in the bag. Denny Hamlin, which I just can't understand for the life of me. Why do you speed so much on pit road? Like, is 1/10 of a second worth the entire event? I just cannot wrap my mind around there. Every time I'm on pit road, I would be telling my driver as a crew chief, just back it down. I don't care if you lose 2/10 on the pit stop. Just don't speed, because when you speed at a short track, it's game over. Hamlin pretty much threw away this win, unfortunately for the Hamlin fans. And then Martin Truex Jr., I don't know what really happened there. Everybody was passing him there. But they really threw it away. And then Christopher Bell, he waited in that green flag pit sequence. He waited like 6 laps after everyone else to pit. I don't know if you've watched short track racing before at a very high tire degradation track. If you stay out, you're just losing seconds every lap. So that was a really bad call, in my opinion. When it comes to pit strategy, you're either going to be 100% in or 100% out. If you're trying to catch a caution, you got to be prepared to maybe stay out 30 laps. You can't just stay 5 laps out and then, okay, let's just abandon strategy. No, because you're going to lose probably 7 seconds, and then your day is going to be done. You got to be either all the way in as a strategy or all the way out. And that's what Josh Berry did. He stayed out. He was committed to it. If he didn't get the caution, he was going to be screwed. And guess what? It paid out. Jimmy Johnson's won a lot of races doing that with Chad Knaus. They just said, you know what? We're going to take the biggest gamble, and we're going to stick to it, even though we look like idiots. And a caution would come out, and they would get that track position and, you know, inevitably win a lot of races. But honestly, I'm just glad Richmond's in the rearview mirror. To me, it's the most overrated racetrack. They hype it up during the pre-race show. Oh, it's going to be beating and banging. It's going to be a classic finish. And they show the same 3 highlights every year. They show Rudd versus Kevin Harvick or Kyle Busch versus Dale Jr. in '08, which, by the way, I watched that race the other night. Those cars, they had so much horsepower. The racing was fantastic. They were willing to move each other out of the way because they had so much horsepower. They need that back in these short track cars. And then they'll show the Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards event in the mid-2010s. The same 3 highlights they show every Richmond race, it seems. I just don't get it. It's the most overrated track out there. If they would have raced at the botched Texas Motor Speedway, it would have been a significantly better race. And to end this video on a good note, the IndyCar race at Texas, as bad as that racetrack is currently, was unbelievable. The absolute, just sheer amount of hard racing. They were, you thought they were racing for the Indy 500. You would think it was Simon Pagenaud and Alexander Rossi from years ago, just duking and diving and passing. I mean, it was marvelous oval racing. They got to find a way to get some more oval tracks on the IndyCar circuit. I mean, there's just way too many good places they could race. Pocono, Michigan, Homestead, Kansas, Chicagoland. If they wouldn't get rid of Fontana, I would throw that into the mix. Heck, they could run a second race at Texas because it's so much better, in my opinion, as a stock car fan, than the street courses that it seems like they race every single week, which kind of feels like a cookie cutter to me. Again, that's a stock car fan's perspective, but that was a fantastic IndyCar race. So that's all for now. Make sure you get your Kyle Larson Richmond win pre-ordered. Hopefully it has some confetti on that. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Diecast Buffet.